today. I'm Rica's Game Cafe, the project coordinator for the Athena Alliance CLT and the moderator for today's panel. We will be talking to our allies in our community for Men's Mental Health Month. To introduce ourselves, we are the Athena Alliance CLT, which is a women-led gaming organization focused on the upliftment of women, NBs, and our allies in gaming. We offer a safe and inclusive space as well as accessibility to information with our IRL and digital events such as the one you're watching right now. We also appreciate in charitable donations, community outreach, and tournaments. We've been around since 2019 and are also becoming a nonprofit. So if you would like to donate and support more conversations like the one we are doing today, please type !donate in the chat. We're going to get started on the discussion, but before we do, here are some facts that are important to know. The average video game player is 31 years old, with close to 53% being men, who play in an average of 9.5 hours per week. According to The Watch, 76% of users experience toxicity playing Destiny 2 online, 62% face toxicity from Minecraft, 52% from Rocket League, and 60% from Grand Theft Auto, with a staggering 87% of sexual content being reported in Valorant, and 90% of direct violent threats being recorded from Call of Duty multiplayer. According to the World Health Organization, men commit suicide worldwide at twice the rate of women and is often attributed to stress. Men are also less likely to get or seek any kind of formal mental health care. Men with symptoms of depression can range, but have been seen to be aggression, irritability, or low mood. Online spaces, while not at a substitute for professional care, reduce feelings of isolation and can provide support networks to men. In extreme cases, such as what has recently occurred with Edward Kang, who flew from New Jersey to Florida to injure an online player of the game ArcAge Offline, it can also damage relationships as well. Today, we're going to be speaking to different men in our community for their thoughts on certain subjects to gain an understanding on how we can be a more supportive community and discuss why certain actions may be perceived the way they are. First, I'm going to allow our panel to introduce themselves. We will start with Adrian.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Adrian, and I'm a commercial analyst for Blast. Blast is a global esports tournament organizer. So we organize major esports tournaments for Rocket League, Fortnite, Counter-Strike, Dota 2, and Rainbow Six as well. So I'm in the commercial team, and I have to do all the media rights deals, sponsorship deals, and deals of where we host our events around the world. So yeah, that's me.
Thank you, Adrian. Now we will ask AerialApostle to introduce yourself, please.
Hi, my name is AerialApostle. Primarily stream on Twitch, play a lot of Mario Kart, also compete in Mario Kart, do a handful of charity events, working with different organizations such as NAMI, as well as Alzheimer's Association, raising funds, just playing video games, and so trying to make a difference through playing the things that I love. So,
thank you so much. Jmaine, please introduce yourself.
Hey everyone, my name is Jmaine, otherwise known as JMG. I'm mostly a Twitch streamer. I also make YouTube content, and also want to say I appreciate the opportunity to speak on these matters because it is very important.
LucidEspresso, please introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, my name is LucidEspresso, filmmaker and content creator, former Twitch streamer, moved over to YouTube. Now I am in the process of creating short films and on my way to share my craft with other content creators. And I think that this is awesome to be here.
Jaycee, please introduce yourself.
Morning, everybody. My name is Jaycee. I am one of the creative directors at Level Up Expo. I am also a Stanford ambassador in healthcare with Pride in Research Study. I'm the founder of the Gamer Allied People of Color, which is the largest queer POC gaming platform in the country for branded individuals in social media. And I also am the founder of the Telliger Agency, which is a mental health agency that creates outreach from communities through communities. Pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Maddenus, please introduce yourself.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Maddenus, Twitch streamer, as well as a talent manager for United States Air Force. I really appreciate the chance to come out here today, speak about this. It's a big passion of mine, gaming and mental health for everyone. But I appreciate the chance to get to speak personally on behalf of myself today. I just really do appreciate you guys putting this together, and I appreciate everybody else being here today. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Olympus Gaming TV.
What up, everyone? Like you said, my name is Olympus Gaming TV. Some of you may know me as some call me Dez. The Olympus Gaming TV is my gaming/streaming content creation site. So over there, I do a lot of YouTube reviews on Sega, Nintendo properties, and also stream here on Twitch. And on the other side, some call me Dez is more like a lifestyle travel type deal. So some of you guys may know me from that. Some of you may know me from the gaming side. Outside of that, I work in the consumer tech industry and also a full-time student at Florida International University down in Miami, Florida. So yeah, that's me. And shout out to Athena Alliance for putting together the platform.
Yes, thank you so much. Okay, so now we are going to jump into our questions. Our first question is for Adrian. What games do you play to help you get through times of high stress or low mental stability?
So I'm from London, and in UK, Europe, we play a lot of soccer, football. FIFA, I don't know if you've heard of FIFA, but that is a game which is really popular for us. So I think that is a really cool game, and I think we play it online because we play with our friends and we play in a team. So I think that is definitely one of the biggest games that I play, and that I play with my friends to de-stress. But of course, I think for most people, they play a lot of shooting games or fighting games to kind of de-stress. So, looking at GTA, for example, my favorite game of all time, GTA. And I think GTA, you can play the missions, you can be a bit crazy, but also the strategy involved in GTA in the missions, I think it also helps me to decompress. Tekken as well, the old all-time classic, is a pretty cool game. And again, I think it's that finding elements to get your frustrations out, which can help you decompress. So I would say, yeah, FIFA, GTA, and Tekken are my perfect three games to decompress.
Thank you, Adrian. Maddenus, I have the same question for you. What games do you play to help you to get through times of high stress or low mental stability?
I love the question. I have previously, for about 15, 16 years, I was really big into World of Warcraft. I played it all the time, loved it. I still love it. I just don't have the time for it as much, to dedicate it. But to decompress, basically, even simple things as starting a new character on there, or going into a character that I could complete some simple tasks on, complete some quests on, get some accomplishment felt for the day if it was a day where I felt like I didn't get a lot done personally. Maybe just round out the day with something like that where I could get that sense of accomplishment, as well as the community on World of Warcraft. I'm sure anybody in MMORPGs has different experiences, but I made lifelong friends on there that I can reach out to personally or on the game that can always help me through a situation. People that even have I've met in real life. A lot of them I met in real life, and it's a blessing, absolute blessing. As for since I moved on since World of Warcraft, don't have the time for it anymore. FIFA for sure. I would have to agree with Adrian on that. I absolutely love FIFA. I grew up playing soccer my whole life. Rocket League, despite a bit of toxicity on there, it's still a lot of fun for me. And then a little Fortnite, especially with my kids. I like to play Fortnite. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. Question 2. We'll first start with Jmagic for question 2. How do you feel about playing games with women and being portrayed as someone harmful?
Well, usually when I play games, I don't really try to look at that, but a lot of people do. And I know some people, especially in like Call of Duty or something like that, they hear a girl and they kind of go out of character. But usually, I was raised in like the Call of Duty days, so when you played on their online, it's a cesspool. It's bad, but usually, like I said, just don't focus on it. But when I do hear it, you got to call it out, because if you're acting weird online, I mean, you could do that in real life. So definitely just try to be aware of who I play with, and just do the proper channels. You report them if you hear something.
Yeah, just as J May was saying, it's just more so kind of being an advocate and calling out the behavior when you see it. So, not to give away my age, but I came up in the era where there was no online. So for me to play multiplayer games with anyone, we had the multi-tap on PlayStation or the N64 with the 4 plugins. So, and half of the people that I gamed with back then were women, and I never viewed them any differently than my male friends, and even to this day. So, at the end of the day, you just have to create that safe space and also be an advocate, and also just call out the behavior when you see it, whether it's online or in person. Because a lot of women participate in different tournaments, whether it's fighting game tournaments or at cons or gaming expos, and yeah, you just have to call out the behavior when you see it for the most part.
Right. Thank you so much. Question 3, we'll start with Adrian. What influenced you to start playing video games to help you decompress?
I think for me, with video games, they just take you kind of away from the real world and you go into a different world. And, everyone has their stresses and their troubles, whether it's from school, from work, or family, or from friends. And the fact that games can just take you totally away from all that into your own little bubble, your own little world, and you just kind of forget temporarily about all the stresses you have. So that for me is a very big motivation for reaching out to games as something which can take me away from the hardships of life. And yeah, I think it's really important to do that and to have an outlet and to recognize that. So for me, it takes me away from the real world and kind of puts me in a little safe space, a little bubble, even if it's only temporary. But yeah, it's really a good outlet for me for sure to get away from all the troubles I have.
Thank you, Adrian. Maddenus, I'll have the same question for you. What influenced you to start playing video games to help you decompress?
I think Adrian really hit the nail on the head. An escape from reality, an alternate reality, a place where you have a little more control, maybe in the day to day. I know when it comes to MMORPG like World of Warcraft, that was exactly what it was for me for a long time. It not only helped me decompress, but it also was just that kind of distraction from any negativity I had in day to day. But what started it for me was actually my parents. My mom and my stepmom, they played together, and they got me World of Warcraft in the beginning. And I wasn't sure about it at first. I was kind of more into sports games, and they were like, "Just give it a shot, please. Like, I think you'll like it." I was like, "No, it's kind of nerdy, Next thing I know, I was hooked. They had the hooks in me, and here I am, 17 years later, still dabbling from time to time. So, and like I mentioned earlier, it's just that community. That's what really helps me decompress. A lot of good friends and more control really helps me.
All right, thank you so much. Next question. This question is for Adrian. First with Adrian. How is your communication in real life different than how you communicate playing the game?
Yeah, I think communication in real life obviously depends who we're speaking to. I mean, obviously at work is a lot more formal and more professional. And then when it comes to gaming, especially when you're playing with your friends, yeah, you are a lot more casual, excitable, and I think you can be yourself. And again, it's all part of the thing about escaping into your own world. You can really be yourself, be your true self, be very, very expressive. So yeah, I think it is. Of course, some people take it too far, and then being expressive, they become rude and aggressive. So I also have to be careful of that, and I'm always careful and respectable in that sense. But yes, for me, yes, it's a contrast of being professional and straightforward, more at work. Whereas when you're playing games, you can be very expressive, you can be very happy, excitable, emotional as well, because again, you are in your own world. It's just magical on
Okay.
the video game.
All right. Thank you. LucidEspresso, I have the same question for you. How is your communication in real life different than how you communicate playing the game?
communication is, I'm gonna say it's no different from in game and outside of game, only because I am me regardless of what I'm playing, and how I communicate with people. I think what's different is testing the waters, I guess, because you're going to talk to multiple people, different people every day when you are playing an online game. So every time you go into a different match, you got 7, 8 new people. And to test that waters, normally I say, good luck, have fun. If they respond with positivity, you know that you might have a good match. Going throughout each match, you can see that the toxicity get worse. And what I do is I stay on business. I continue to focus on the game, and I just ignore the toxic. For me, I do have what was, I would say, like a very female name for my online game. So, like, first off, people may think I'm a girl playing the game, and I just don't add to it. They might treat you different, like they may throw you a gun, and be like, "Hey, this is for you," whatever. So, or they get a little flirty, but I don't pay any mind to it. I continue playing and like stay focused. Outside of game, same thing. I just stay focused on what I need to do. If someone's being toxic to me, I just ignore it. I'm not gonna entertain it. Entertaining it is what makes it worse, and that's what they want to get out of you. Once they realize that, it's like, all right, well, what I'm doing is not affecting this guy. They leave you alone.
Okay. Thank you so much. Okay. Question 5. We'll first start with Olympus Gaming TV. What support system have you built in the gaming community?
Yeah, absolutely. So when it comes to the support system and becoming a support system and building out something for that, I think in my case, it's more so about being accessible. So due to the nature of the games that I typically cover on my Twitch and YouTube channel, it tends to bring in a younger audience. You're covering things like Sonic, Mario, Nintendo-based content. So that typically is going to bring in an audience that's within those developmental stages in life. So they go through mental woes, and I hear about it on my live streams, Discords, whatever. They'll DM me saying, hey, this is what's going on. So I think the biggest contribution I can make as a content creator and somebody they pretty much look up to is being accessible. So I think that just bringing that barrier down between online and real life and just saying, hey, let me take a few minutes out of my day to talk to you, or hey, let me just make myself accessible so you could have a safe place to vent. And that goes from anybody, that watches my channel or just people that I know in real life. So I just think being accessible to your audience and those who are going through, mental woes would be the best idea in that regard.
Thank you so much. JC, what support system have you built in the gaming community?
Well, I built a brand. I built a couple. But one of the support systems that I built was, the social community that we have now. GayPod has 3,000 people. Like, we're about to partner with healthcare brands to do like holiday promotions where we're giving away money. Our activity is really strong. I'm a power admin. I'm certified by Meta for community management because of the activity that we have in our group. People are really surprised at how active we are, considering how few people we have, with the discussions that we have and how dynamic they are. And then I continued to, foster community by creating the mental health series, because we did have this viral incident in our group where one of our members killed somebody else over a game of Overwatch. And at that point, is the game really the support, or are we people who play games who thrive in these communities now because technology has advanced so far, but we're still in need of services to keep ourselves balanced? So that's how my mental health agency was born. And then once that got off the ground and that started doing well, it really started moving to a point of, well, what does this look like in the larger ethos? And we have, of course, our shout outs to our Black conventions, our Dream Cons, our Blur Cons, our Dragon Cons. But where are we at the top of this? Where are we at a level where we have hundreds of thousands of members of engagement? And we don't exist there in large capacity. So that's what prompted me to continue to create support systems by rolling out a nonprofit with Level Up Expo, which is the third largest convention in the country for fandom, anime, and gaming experiences. And now we have a place where we can find equity, not only just in local niche communities where we need that moment of solace and we feel like our consumer bill doesn't give us remorse, but now at the top level where we see all of the glitz and the glam and the large scale productions. And now we have a place where we can see ourselves that we're visible in a way that we're not commonly ignored. Because when you go to some of these conventions, you don't see many people that are quote unquote like you. And we are a diverse group of people. Usually you see one type and that's it. But I want to create something for everyone. So that's how I've been creating support systems. And that's how support systems have supported me. Because being able to do this stuff and seeing that people are affected in a positive way has prompted me to keep going. And I have a lot more exciting things to come I can't talk about. But yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Jaycee. Wonderful. Question 6, we will start with Jaycee. What negative effects does the online community of the video games you play have on your mental health?
They're not effects that are as bad anymore, but I think I want to speak to something that people don't normally envision when they're playing games. The typical answer is I keep getting called the N-word and the F-word. Oh my God, my feelings. I feel so bad. But my mouth is crazy too. So I'm not really worried about that, right? I am a competitive player in the FGC and in Pokemon Unite. Something that I noticed that is a negative effect is compound stress. We will go to work, right? Bad day at work. Manager in my face. Well, in a typical, I'm talking from a typical player standpoint, somebody who works a 9 to 5, right? They'll go and have a bad day and, they'll come home and they'll be like, oh, I'm about to play League. That's about to get my mind off. Now, you spent, 45 times 5, about good 4 or 5 hours losing 5 games in a row in League. Now what? You thought gaming was your escape, right? But the stress is now compounded because when you thought you were about to get your relief, you got grief. So what we call this in mental health is, owing it to yourself to heal. So we tell people now, we mark these markers because what's happening in pediatric households, in Generation Alpha and in Generation Z, is that these compound stressors are happening to their influential circuits, and it's school. So they'll come home and then the parent doesn't understand the dynamic of what the child is trying to do, whether it's escapism or it's talent scouting through gameplay. And then that gameplay becomes a detriment to them as well. There's a social construct there as well. Now we're talking about building this mountain of negative effects. And then the mother or the father will come in and be like, hey, clean your room. Straw that broke the camel's back. Now the mama getting cussed out. She don't know what's going on. And now she's trying to figure out how she's going to relate to her child. And we've seen this where there are some people in the industry where I won't put their names out, but there are recordings that I've done at prior events where there are CEOs in the industry who have dealt with suicidal ideations from their kids because of compound stress. So one of the major missions that we're trying to put out right now is to get rid of compound stress. If you know you have had a stressful day, whether it's in school, whether it's in work, whether it's with your girl or your boy or whoever you're dealing with, whether it's your friends, whether you got put on blast online for a crazy opinion, whatever the case it may be, we're asking that when you come home and you choose to indulge in the hobby that is video games, try to indulge in something that brings you peace.
Jmagic, the same question for you. What negative effects does the online community of the video games you play have on your mental health?
Yeah, definitely not to add on to that, but definitely what Jaycee was talking about. When you come home from like a hard day's work and you want to play something like me, I used to play Tekken a lot, and y'all know that game can get very aggressive, especially it depends on, you have like the highs when you went on a win streak. Of course, you're feeling great, like especially when you play before work, you're feeling good. But say you're on a losing streak, you have to do that, and then you have to go into work, and you're already feeling down. And the first thing you do when you come into work, have to do something you don't want to do, So that compound stress, that definitely matters. And me personally, like when I used to play Final Fantasy 14, like first day stuff, which is pretty much the harder content. When you playing it with like 8 people, that's the MMO. So you got to be coordinated with everybody. And say when doing a mechanic in the game where you have to be at a certain spot, make sure you good. you sometimes mess up, and then you're playing with 8 other people, so you feel like you let them down. So that actually compounds as well. So you gotta kind of build yourself up to be able to play these games and make sure you in a good headspace. Or if you not feel like it, play like a single player game. Like me, I used to play of course, Elden Ring. Y'all know they got DLC out now, but when that first came out, when I got home from work, some days I play that. I mean, it'd be stressful, but it'd be like personal stress. Like, okay, I'm losing to this monster. I know I need to get this weapon to get better. I feel the improvement. The endorphins moving up. So I definitely would suggest playing like a single player game if you're feeling like that, or playing a game for casual, like when you can play with your friends or just having a good time. Like I know me and my friend play Smash Bros a lot. It's very fun, especially get some crazy matches in. But yeah, I would definitely say just try to level yourself. Depends on how you feeling, and pick a game according to that.
Thank you so much. Moving on to question 7, we will start with Adrian. How did you discover video games have a positive impact on your mental health?
How did I discover that? I mean, I discovered it by actually doing it, by playing games. And then, like I first started playing games with my brother, PS2. Like when I got a PS2, I was so amazed and so happy when my dad got it for me. And, playing with my brother, again, it really just puts me in a good mood. And not only just playing the game, but playing it with somebody, the social element of it as well. And then now we also got online, so you can play with your friends. So, yeah, yeah, I think just playing it with people, and it's just automatically again going back to my theme of taking you to another world. It just takes you away from the stress. It just puts you in a whole different sphere, and frame of mind and frame of being. So yeah, I mean, it is. I've rarely had a situation where I play video games and then I'm in a worse mood than before. So I think yeah, it's really amazing the impact it can have. Uh, but yeah, I mean, playing it again with my brother at PS2 was the beginning of it. I know it's expensive playing with your friends online, but yeah, it's always something which improves my state of mind.
All right, thank you. Jmagic, the same question for you. How did you discover video games have a positive impact on your mental health?
Uh, I just learned that from growing up. I lived in a tight knit family with 4 brothers, and we used to play the PS1. We used to had the Switch and play the games. And I remember very vividly we was playing Gran Turismo, and we was trying to play whoever don't get first place has to switch the controller to the next person, and we just kept playing like that. And it was just like knowing that my family around, we having a good time. Most times I play the games with my family, we gonna have a good time. From playing 007 on the 10064, playing on the GameCube. Every time I play with people that I know I'm having a good time with, it was always that. So kind of like going to a barbecue. You there, you're gonna have a good time. So I would say definitely playing with your family or people you love. Just simple day playing 30 minutes or some game that you just doing probably 1 or 2 things on it, but you're doing it with somebody you love. So it makes it that much more meaningful to you. So I would definitely say that.
Okay. For this question, I would like to open it up to the panel. Would anyone else like to comment on this question?
I'll go ahead and I'll chime in. I would say for me personally, it's just the sense of accomplishment that I got when completing a task in a video game. So like even as a young kid, like beating Sonic 2 for the first time, or even on like growing up like as a teenager 100% in Kingdom Hearts and getting the ultimate Keyblade, or even now as an adult, playing and beating Cuphead, or Elden Ring or Jedi Fallen Order, any of those games. So I would just say the positive dopamine hit that I get for accomplishing something that's really really tough.
I would like to add on to this question only because like that self gratification is also a double edged sword, and this kind of ties into like the previous question. If you're having a negative day, and like some people, actually most people, it's you have a rough day after work, you come home and you want to play a game, you hop on Call of Duty, League, Fortnite. The only gratification that you really want out of that is to see that victory screen, right? You see victory or you won, it feels good. You're like, heck yeah, you want to do another match, try to keep getting that. But the issue is like you lose and you lose and you lose. your mind and mental stress gets worse. It gets really bad because now you're raging, you're getting mad, you're blaming your problems on your teammates. But the issue is like you're letting that negativity affect your gameplay, right? You fall out of your flow state, you lose that focus and zone. So for me, when it comes to getting that gratification, it is small wins. Honestly, I pick small things. Like I don't need to win a match, but if I can get like, I aim for like, for example, Valorant. I want to challenge myself, so I say, let me pick an op and let me see if I can get a headshot with the sniper rifle. I get that as a small win, regardless if we lose the game. I'm building on that. So if you can go into your mental state and say, let's not aim for a victory, but let's aim for small wins, because just like in real life, building a company, you don't start being the best. You start small and you build on those small wins and become a 6-figure company. You're not going to sit here and buy the best cameras. You're not going to sit here and buy all the best stuff, hire the best employees, and like no one knows about your company yet. You're sitting there doing the best things right away and you're still small. So build on those small wins, aim with your mental state. Build on that and don't try to aim high, because when you fall hard.
Yeah, I would, if I may, build off of that again because I couldn't agree more. To relate it to World of Warcraft, which was my primary game, there's the achievements that I said, accomplishing those every day gave me a sense of accomplishment and made me feel good. Just that dopamine hit, right? Completing those things, right? But then there's the people who really focus on, well, I'm not successful at this game until I get this title in the game or this achievement or whatever. These false achievements, these false, idols that they watch on even on platforms, that's what they want to attain. That's their goal. That's what success looks like to them, when it should be focusing on goals, achievements, titles in your day-to-day life, not on a game. People dump hours, days, weeks, months, and I'm speaking from personal experience. Okay, so this isn't this isn't me throwing shade anywhere. I had to come to my own realization on this, that I was dumping so much time into being successful on a video game that wasn't going to take me anywhere in life. And when I finally flipped the switch to focusing on my day-to-day, my career, and things like that, my life has been exponentially better since then, personally and professionally. And I guess I just want to send out the reminder, like, yeah, it's great to set goals in a game, but make sure you're setting those goals in real life too. Don't put your full focus and all your energies into a game.
Okay, I'll move on to the next question. Starting with JMG, has there ever been a time you stopped playing games because of your mental health, and how did it affect you?
Yeah, there's been a time. Like I said, I was playing Final Fantasy 14 MMO for a good while, and like I said, we was doing some hardcore content, which was raiding, and it kind of got stressful because you had to be there at a certain time to make sure everybody was coordinated to do the raid, and then we be in there just knocking it out for hours, making sure we getting the right, stuff going, and it just became a lot. And I love the game. I still do. Like I play it often. So it's just, I think that break was what I needed. But when you play a game with a lot of people that doing something that's very difficult with, it's kind of hard to manage that. And somebody mess up, you kind of want to tell them they messing up, but you also want to, let them know that in a non-stressful way that'll make them mess up worse. So, it was just a bunch of that, but it was mostly just, doing too much of the same thing and just going at it consistently. But I'm pretty sure people can feel it burnout with any game they play, like any kind of online game. I would say probably like Fortnite or Call of Duty or something like that. If you playing it consistently and all the time with different people, and you just feel like you're just not getting nowhere, it gets on you. It's like, are you wasting your time? Especially if you're trying to achieve a goal in it. But yeah, that's one of the ways that got me stressed. But I'm better now.
So JC, I have the same question for you.
Oh, I do that all the time. So I am, I'm approaching 1800 in Unite, and in terms of ELO, when you get to Masters, they'll give you more points than they take from you until you get to 1600. Then you start losing more points than you get. It's a couple of losses, and then I'm out of there. you ain't got to worry about me because it's very easy to go back to 1500, and that's disheartening, and I don't like that. So now I learned self-control instead of trying to overindulge and overcompensate and getting the wins back. Particularly when I don't got people that I can play with, I'll just disengage. And though I might want to still play, if I'm really wanting to play that bad, I can just go get on a burner account and just play on that. And then I can lose as much as I want. But I like being authentic to my profile. I only have one. So I'll take a couple of games and then I'll step back because it also teaches me self-control and moderation. So those are the positive effects that really comes through with that. Like gaming, like anything else, can become an addiction. So to be able to perform discipline and something that you enjoy also gives you balance to the things that you have in your life that could be necessities as well. So there are a lot of positive effects in showing restraint.
I don't think I stopped playing games, but the reason why I quit being a Twitch streamer was due to the toxicity that I kind of got into with some people on the stream team. That caused me to quit Twitch. It's like I didn't bother playing games online anymore with like people. But like I continue playing, But other than that, I think I never had a situation where I just gave up on a game because my mental health. And again, like I play a lot of like single player games or I solo queue and like Valorant and stuff like that. It's rare that I play with people who are like kind of dragging me down and being toxic, and I'm just like, all right, bro, well, I'm not going to play this game with you anymore because you're kind of sucking the fun out of a game that I like playing. So if it's anything, I quit playing with certain people that are bringing me down.
Excuse me, Olympus Gaming TV. How much money do you think you have spent on video games to fill a void?
Wow, that is a interesting question. So, how much paper did I spend on video games to fill a void? I guess the way that I look at that, because one of the things I advocate is having hobbies and having outlets outside of gaming. So I can't really say that the funds necessarily went to gaming in per se to fill a void, but to other things. So I would have to say, if I'm counting like just buying games just because I wanted it or just going to like an event because I want to, I would say that number is quite high, but I can't really say if it was necessarily to fill a void of any sort. So.
AerialApostle, I have the same question for you. How much money do you think you have spent on video games to fill a void?
I would probably say, along the same lines, definitely spending more money probably on other hobbies outside of video games. I do have a decent Lego collection that probably has way too much money put into it. But if I were to include stuff like conventions and things like that, I would say a lot of the conventions that I've gone to has been partly a void. It's more of like a competitive void, I could say. Just wanting to go out and compete against other players and kind of get a gauge of where I'm at, and trying to just kind of satisfy that kind of like a hunger to compete. So gone to Seattle, gone to Illinois, different places just to kind of fill that void. One of those times was definitely more of the competition, and it wasn't necessarily out of the best intentions. Did manage to still make it to the finals of that event, but it was still very much a mindset of, cool, I want to be the best, while also at the same time in the back of the head knowing, I know I'm not the best. I know like I can't compete against some of these guys. And so just trying to find that healthy balance of like just having realistic expectations going into those events.
Wonderful. Would anyone else like to add to the question?
Oh, I spent a ton.
Yep.
Don't nobody else on this panel want to admit it, but when you're anticipating a game, that's a void. And when you go and buy it, you filled it. So congratulations. You filled the void. Y'all go count y'all little collection and see how much money y'all spent. But I spent a ton. But I'm also loyal to a lot of franchises. So particularly in RPGs during the 2000s. There was a slew of golden age games: Unlimited Saga, Wild Arms, Romance Saga, stuff that's being re-released today, and I'm like, oh, I got that on PS2. And then there were a lot of obscure games that came out that I was a collector of: Hoshigami, Stella Deus, a lot of hard to finders, Tech Romancer on Dreamcast. I don't know anybody who pretty much got that one, but those were voids, but they were enjoyable ones. You know what I mean? But still, I think the real drought was waiting between franchise installments. I know I was going crazy when I was in high school waiting for Xenosaga 3. It was driving me nuts because Xenosaga 2 was so weird, and I was like, how is this about to end? And watching the ebb and flow of things before social media came into play, it was like, so what do I do? Now I got a phone, I can read updates and I can go sneak leaks, IP purchases, things of that nature. Ooh, this is coming back great. But back then, it was a void. So yeah, making that purchase was really feeling it. I'd say a good few thousand because my collection is pretty wide.
All right.
Oh.
Yeah.
I would probably say I kind of get caught in the gacha life. I do like my gacha games,
no.
so yeah, dude, I got a problem. Honkai Star Rail, Honkai Impact, it's been a problem from growing up. But I would say like I lost a huge collection of games in a house fire, and I think to replace that void, I've been collecting like those childhood games. Like I just recently got Sky Gunners on the PS2, which is like $100 for that game, and like I'm a huge fan of Atlas and Sega, so I'll go out of my way. My Persona collection, honestly, Persona 3, I bought that game 7 times. I got so many different copies. But I think that's more so just me just filling up that void that I lost when I was a kid in a house fire. So
yeah, personally, I consider myself, I believe it to be very true that I'm an empath 100%, and I spend a lot of money gifting things in World of Warcraft, and then I've had to take breaks from Twitch, honestly, because I just gift and look at my bank account at the end of the month and I'm like, wow, I just had sent so much money across Twitch, So when it comes to how much money I spent on gaming, Twitch, I would hate to look it up, honestly. I would hate to look it up. I know it's way more than I should have. Yeah.
Yeah, don't look at it. That's a problem.
It's gonna be a bad day if I do.
I hide it. I put it under the bed.
I also feel you on that gacha life. I'm in a top 30 guild in War of the Visions.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
To keep up with that, you gotta get the new
pray for me. And now we power
yeah.
creeping, so I can't like be in the background. Well, I'm kind of skating right now because we just did Final Fantasy Advent Children collab, and they dropped 4 units and 2 vision cards. It was not fun. But that is the power creepers here. I'm skating, but I ain't gonna be able to skate for long. So I definitely felt that gacha grind. It's not for the faint of heart.
Gacha grind is terrible.
All right. So, JC, there is a comment in the chat for you, and they say Xenogears is better.
He's not wrong.
Xenogears is the best game of all time. I could go on a rant right now and tell y'all the tale of 2 Tetsuyas in Squaresoft and how Xenogears became the Mona Lisa of RPGs. But I won't bore you. But you're exactly right. And to see, I don't know if anybody's been keeping up, but the Xeno franchise, I think Tetsuya Takahashi has rounded out all of his relationships so that he can take Xenoblade into a multiverse franchise to wrap up all of those stories. There's a radio segment in Xenosaga 3 Future Redeemed, and it mentions a number of properties and characters from Xenosaga and Xenogears. So I'm really excited to see where the next chapter of that series is going. But I've been following Xenogears since I was 12 years old, and that game has truly fascinated me. I've never seen a game mix science, religion, and culture together in a way for fantasy that game had. Fun fact, it was the original sequel to Chrono Trigger. Nobody really knows that.
Yeah, I think for me, the stress is not necessarily from the backlog itself, but it's creating content around the games in that backlog. So, of course, when games come out, you want to try to hit the algorithm on YouTube, and you want to kind of be like one of the first to make content around it. And I'm just like, you know what? I'm not going to fight that battle. So, but yeah, the backlog itself, nah. I have a crazy backlog, but the stress, I've managed that pretty well.
That's why I avoid making content on games. I'm like, I can't keep up with y'all. That costs too much money. Unless I get like YouTube partner, then I'm like, all right, well, they pay for me to, buy these games. So that's different. But as of right now, I'm just like, I just focus on what I'm doing, kind of just making short films and stuff.
I think the backlog comes from multitasking. um, Being a philanthropist in gaming is cute to talk about till you got to be a philanthropist in gaming. And then a lot of games you would enjoy in the privacy of your own home, you're playing them on a plane. So, I do a lot of traveling and then when you intersect in different cultures, me literally in gaming and mental health and healthcare, it just is prioritizing time. I guess I could say, to be a little transparent, maybe it is stress. Because I noticed lately, before I go to bed, I'm turning on Fire Emblem Engage and I'm trying to finish it. And I'm just like asleep within 10 minutes. And then I wake up and I'm just like, oh, I ain't got time for that. Let me just save. And I'm saving in the same exact spot that I loaded. And, so maybe, maybe while I might think it's not stress, maybe there's possibility that multitasking is forming a sense of anxiety that tries to make time for playing the game, but time will just not allow that. So I that's something to explore. I'm going to talk to my therapist about that. It's a curious question.
I have a question for you. Do you notice there is a certain genre of game that you have in a backlog, or is it just pretty much various genres of games? Or is there like a focus game that you normally genre of game you put in your backlog?
I would say for me, RPGs, JRPGs in particular. Persona 5, that's been on my backlog since it came out. So yeah, for me, it's usually JRPGs or games that's over a certain amount of hours. Like, even like some of the Yakuza games. Like, I play Yakuza 6, I'm like, oh, I cannot wait to play Judgment and 7, and just never get around to it. So, for me, definitely RPGs.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I got so many games on the backlog now. I mean, y'all heard of the Trail series? Yeah, I want to start that, but now they like got 4 games in and they even touched the first one. So I'm just like, guess I'll try the new series they got coming out. But yeah, definitely RPGs.
I'm a RPG guru, so I just stay on RPGs. I think I don't really have any backlog. I think just backlogs are just anything that I start playing, but then I stop because I got caught into something else. But I don't really feel like my backlog of genres are that intensive to one thing. It's a amalgamation of a bunch of stuff.
Definitely, I'd say, um, I'm not going to say just RPGs. I'm still in Shadowbringers on Final Fantasy 14. Everybody asking me to get Dawn Trail. And I'm just like,
Me too. I'm
I
still on
mean,
Endwalker.
I ain't gonna lie, I quit because I was trying to get that Odin main, that mount from Eden Savage, and I couldn't. I was mad.
Oh, yeah.
So I quit. And now, like Endwalker came and went, Dawn Trail is here, and I'm just like, I'd probably get that mount now. Let me go ahead and get back in this game real quick. But I'm pretty sure one is gonna come up, or I'm gonna get stuck in market selling. You know how that goes. The stock market in that game. I really think they could take in that game that marketplace and teach financial literacy in college, and they could teach stock market and brokering, because that game really is that emotion, and there are a lot of players who don't know that that is a translated skill, if they're good at it, into very rich dollars in the economy. So I have to say, my backlog is a little bit more than just RPGs. Some of the RPGs I have on backlog right now, Persona 5 Tactica, beautiful game. Fire Emblem Engage, Fire Emblem, Three Houses, never finished it, and played it day one, got to chapter 23, stopped. Some of the RPGs I have finished, Persona 5, huge fan. Oh my god, that plot twist. They were geniuses for that. Taking new players and then honoring vet players. Because when I turned that game on, I was just like, I got to this one point in the beginning and I was like, something's not right here. Why did they do that? And I didn't want to Google. Then I don't know why. And then that ended up being a plot twist. And I was like, oh, that was good. So, great there. Suikoden 5, Suikoden Tier Cree, the Trail series, still on 1. Yeah. I'm gonna pick up Visions of Mana though. I think I might finish that. Oh, Grand Blue Fantasy Versus. I'm sorry, I got to it 2 weeks too late. Everybody was rating, and I was just like, that's whatever. I'll wait for DLC. So yeah.
All right. So we have a question from the chat. And Ariel, I will direct this question to you. How can women support or be allies in the support of your mental health online within your gaming community?
Let's see here. So, how can women support? Let's see here. I don't know. That's an interesting question because the way I see it is most of the time whenever I'm getting support, like I mean, my wife alone has been very supportive. Whether that be with my competitive gaming or just with my streams, even with charity streams, she's come and like helped make sure like I'm eating and just doing basic stuff. But honestly, like for women and just everyone in general, it's a lot of the interactions I support is kind of more kind of like in a digital sphere in a way. Like I know when it's when like who's who, but like just when Twitch chat, like when people are supporting in there, just simple words of encouragement can go a long way, or just simply talking in chat and then just keeping the conversation going. Really engaging with the person who's streaming or just engaging with other people in the chat and keeping that positive energy going. That's like, I mean, it's very simple, and very basic, but it goes a long way just to maintain that positivity and keep that going.
Don't. How can we support you? How can I ask a woman who, on average, gets sexually assaulted every 9 seconds in this country to support me with gaming? I'm out of pocket. How can I support you? What can I do to uplift you as a woman in gaming? We don't have enough. And we're talking about now in Generation Alpha, 96% of people 12 to 18 are playing video games. 96, which means in a classroom, there's only like one kid that's not doing it at average, which means most of the kids in the classes are doing it. So the real question is, how can we support you? How can I continue to support Athena's allies and their quest in getting a greater presence in the gaming community? I'm strong. I'm good. Like, if you want to order me some Raising Canes every now and again, great, that's awesome. I don't even stream like that though. But it's, how can you tell me to make my convention and what I'm doing with my rollouts and my brands, how can they facilitate you? Because you being present is probably the only way you'd be able to support me. But I only want you present if I'm making a space for you to be present. So that's the real question. And great leaders are good followers. So, that's for me, is how can I make a space for you? And I welcome that feedback at any given time. Follow me on socials, DM me. For any of my women that are watching this, please let me know, and you hold me unabashedly accountable as to how I could be a support to you, because this conversation is not in your belt. You deal with enough, and you being able to survive and own it to yourself to heal is enough for me to go out here and champion any cause that you have going on.
Very well said. Thank you. Who else would like to add to this question?
I would just say what I was saying earlier. If you see any wrongdoings, anything that makes you uncomfortable, let somebody know. If you feel uncomfortable with anything, I think you have the right to let people express that without feeling judgment or anything. It's supposed to be an open space. So I want you to feel that way. So if you feel any kind of discontent, or you feel like somebody may have said something wrong, maybe just the meaning's weird, but just express that immediately. Don't try to hide it. Don't think maybe, well, he said something different. No, just let people know, hey, this is how I feel about this situation. And I just want to let you know, to prevent it from going further, down the road. So we could just, continue what we're doing, enjoying games.
Wonderful.
So it's all about communication, my friend. In any relationship, you want to set a boundary, right? And those boundaries are important because you guys don't want to cross lines with each other. And the earlier you guys can talk about it in the relationship, you guys won't feel like you guys are wasting your time, moving towards that prospect of making something. So first few dates, say, yeah, I like to, occasionally, like you said, play some games. Is it something that I like to do a lot? Let them know that it's a hobby. You know, I told my girlfriend, I was like, hey, I'm a filmmaker and a photographer. And sometimes I get booked by girls who want to do bourgeois shoots. I have to set that boundary. It's like, I'm not going to pass up on this money. This is also my hobby that I'm trying to turn into an occupation. I'm going to go do these photo shoots. So she goes, I understand. I'm glad that you told me. Just let me know. And I also tell her that, most of the time I have a second person with me because I don't like being alone with a female doing like photo shoots, because in the community of like cosplays, there's a lot of people who will do photo shoots with a girl solo, and then there'll be accusations saying that he essayed, blah blah blah, and then like there's no proof because you had no one there with you, and it's gonna be their words over yours. And a lot of photographers just gave up on doing that because they got lied on. And that's why I'm like, I always have someone else with me. I sign a contract, and that's about it, So when going into gaming and someone in your like, with a woman who's in her early 30s, late 30s, just communicate that. Say like, this is a hobby. This is what I like to do. If that bothers you, just let me know. Set a boundary. Say like, hey, from this time to this time, I'm gonna go chill in my dojo, and I'm gonna play some games to kind of relax. And then when I'm done, let's go get dinner or something like that. Still make time for your significant other, but you don't have to give up on the things you love.
Absolutely. I'm going to piggyback off of that because I think that's a very interesting, because I've heard about guys going through that, but the other way around, I had to really give it some thought. Just to kind of piggyback, I would just say living your truth. If this is something that you truly love and something that you really like to do as a hobby, let that person know that, like you said, from the jump. And if that person can't accept that, then that person's not for you. And that goes for friends, family members, love interests, whoever the case is. So don't let anybody shame you for your hobbies. Like I've been on multiple dates. I'll hoodie, like, what up? Like, this is what it is. Like, I have like an Azaru tattoo right here. So any chick that I deal with know what's up when it comes to my hobbies and likes. And if she doesn't like it, then that's too bad, because I'm not going to waver on who I am just because I'm interested in you. So I just think that you just have to live in your truth and just stand 10 toes down on what you enjoy as a hobby. And if anybody can accept it, then they don't need to be in your life, point blank period. So
yes, stay on business, my friend.
Facts.
It doesn't get
Super
said
facts.
enough. It really doesn't get said enough that we have a certain priority of things we're looking in a partner, and they're not always right. So make sure you have your priorities right, man. Don't, exactly like you said, like, don't sacrifice yourself, who you are, for something that ain't worth it in the long run. I mean, you can still be friends or whatever, but to put a significant amount of your time, effort, your heart, your soul into somebody that isn't deserving, you got to make sure they're deserving. You're absolutely right.
There was a quote from a game that I played a long time ago. It was by Joshua from The World Ends With You. And it says, when you can truly be yourself around this stranger, you're truly living your real life. So in a sense, he's saying that don't lie to just have someone like you. Don't start changing your lifestyle just to have people in your life, because then you're truly not yourself. You're just wearing a mask. Take that mask off, be yourself, and let people like you for who you are. You don't have to hide anything. Just be yourself.
Facts. And you're going to find your circle. Like, when you start like really putting your interest out there, the people who appreciates that are also interested. They're gonna find you. So again, don't waver on what your interests are. Don't waver on who you are. Just be authentically you, and you'll be alright. Trust me. It's a billion people on Earth. Trust me, you'll be alright.
We have another question from the chat. Have you run across the same problem in your life where you get shamed for gaming?
Yeah, they doing it right now in my community. Funky Geneva got online talking about I don't know anybody that, boy, shut the fuck up. Ain't nobody ask you. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, and not to be crass with the language, but it's like, it doesn't take me long to get into a sentence before I know I'm pissed off. And it's not to say that I walk around angry. Self-care and mental health will be like, all right, let me go calm down. But I walk out the house black and queer. You got 2 strikes. You know what I mean? And it's like it's a lot of pick-me action going on. And I'm somebody who just went to Super Bowl and talked with Jason Kelsey at length about how he wants to get into video games. there is a major recording artist who I cannot name right now who is about to sign an executive producer deal to an upcoming game. So, and it's a major title. So it's like when I hear, oh, I'm not like those other people I know. It's like that's cute, but here's a qualifying question, right? Who asked you? And then why did you feel like this is something, okay, you don't play games? What's the purpose behind you broadcasting this for an audience? You know what I'm saying? And usually it's because you want to start a pot or you want to create a dog whistle. So yeah, there's a lot of ostracization behind what goes on in games. But a lot of that goes away when they see, people like Erica Ford, who is creating anti-violence initiatives around gaming, or you see Black people in Steam, or queer minorities in Steam, or women in Steam, or you see people in Steam abroad. There are 4.1 million people who work in this industry, and 67% of them do not have a degree. So now we're talking about lucrative income opportunities versus, oh, you play video games. Okay. So yeah, please just, for a much milder term of what I used earlier, stop talking. You don't have to say anything.
I'll like to chime into that because I think now, and it kind of piggybacks on what you said, is like now is popular. You can monetize it now. So I think there's a cool factor that comes with that. Back in the day, I'm not going to date myself, but back in the day, video games was a very niche thing. I remember like me being one of the kids who would bring my Game Boy Color to school, and people like, what is this dude doing? But now, fast forward in my adult life, that's not the thing. I'll walk into the airport with a Nintendo Switch, and if anything, I'll have people asking me, what am I playing? So I think nowadays, not so much, but the late 90s, early 2000s, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, no, you're right about that. I mean, like, early life, like playing League of Legends, I used to get called a virgin because I played League. But now it's like everybody play League. Everybody and their mom wants to be a YouTuber, Twitch streamer. It's saturated, right? So which makes it hard to be a content creator because like everyone does it. You can buy a camera, OBS is free, start recording.
And I think video games now is just so mainstream. Like I'll give you an example. Like you have Megan Thee Stallion, who obviously puts video game references in her music and music videos. Yeah. You have Nicki Minaj calling herself Chun-Li. You have Street Fighter collabs with different brands. Pokemon just collaborated with Tiffany Diamond. If any, like stuff like that, I think definitely brought video game. Exactly. Yeah.
And that's crazy because like it's almost like it's not more so of like, okay, let's do some DEI, right? You got to have like all these check marks, but like they're doing it differently. Where it's like instead of like going for a group of like a certain type of people, they're like, why not just do something with a culture, right? Megan Thee Stallion with her cosplays and stuff like that. You're like, oh, she likes anime. Like, oh, now I'm a fan of her because she likes anime too. She cosplay, I cosplay. So you start listening to her music, right? And at the end of the day, it's like it's so monetized and it's so like popular and now mainstream that it's like, is it really a niche now? Everyone does it. So being shamed for it, it's a rare thing now. It's like, bro, what are you playing? It's more so you get shamed for playing certain games. Like, that's about it. They'd be like, what, you play Fortnite? What are you, 12? Like, who cares? I enjoy playing the game. I still play Minecraft. That doesn't make me 12. Just I enjoy kicking it with the guys on Minecraft with different mods. So don't let it get to you. Just keep doing you.
Ladies, you could be at the strip club. Be happy it's a PlayStation.
Yo, I was in Magic City with a Sega hoodie on, like, yo, let me get them lemon pepper wings.
I would never order food from a strip club.
Listen,
thanks only.
That's a different conversation. That's a different conversation.
That's a different panel. Okay, we have another question for the chat, and I am going to direct this question to Adrian. What is the worst thing you were ever called while gaming online?
Hey, listen, I'm Black, so obviously, what do you think? It's the it's the worst thing you can be called. And, I know people do it to get a rise out of you. Maybe some people don't mean it, but I think, especially when you're young, because I was young, I was like maybe 12 years old playing games, and, it's really a shock to hear people calling you this. And people might think it is harmful, but it is harmless. Sorry, but it's actually harmful. And yeah, again, I know maybe it's a joke or people trying to get you upset and trying to put you off the game, but it's really not cool to be rude to each other, and whether it's looking at your race or your sexuality or whatever, it's just really not cool. And I think as a person, let's just all love each other, man, and whoever we are, and accept each other, and let's just not try to be aggressive. It's only gaming. It's only gaming. We're here, all here to have fun. There's no need to push the boundaries like that. So, but yeah, that's the worst thing I've been called. But I didn't let it stop me. Although it was a shock and I was young. Obviously, I asked my friends whether they've been called this word as well, and yeah, it's obviously very rife and people do all the time. But I think honestly, it's nothing we shouldn't put me down. I just carried on playing. I know people are just saying nonsense, and it's just all part and parcel of the whole experience, right? Which it shouldn't be, but unfortunately it is. So yeah, I mean, I think let's try and eradicate it out of the game, out of gaming. But I think this generation, from my experience, like the new generation, is more together. I think like for example, Black Lives Matter, for example, was really cool. You see like a lot of people of all different races joining and these kind of things. So I think hopefully in the future, as we go on, there will be less of this name calling. But yeah, it did hurt me when I was that young, and that kind of word being directed at me.
AerialApostle, I would be curious to hear from you as well. What are some of the worst things you've been called while gaming online?
Oh, worst things I've been called? It's kind of difficult to say because it's been a while since I've had to deal with chat like that. Granted, that was back when I used to play League of Legends because that's back in the days where I constantly had to deal with, oh, you're so trash, oh, go KYS, etc., and having there's a reason why I stopped playing League of Legends. It's just because I couldn't learn to just mute all chat. Lately, honestly, the worst I've had recently, of recent memory, is just something like as bad as like try hard. Fortunately, I haven't had to deal with too much of city lately, but that also comes. I play games like Mario Kart where we don't really have voice chat, we don't really have text chat, and most of the text chat that I do get is if I'm streaming, and usually anyone who does pop in, either they say something quick and witty or they just don't bother saying anything, and so part of I've been fortunate enough not to deal with it too much, and part of it's also just I'm playing games where where there's not much opportunity to deal with that situation.
Okay. So we have a comment from Pink Cadillacs to address with LucidEspresso. How is content creation saturated? Accessibility is still a problem. We need more people of color in the industry too. Only 2% of the industry are Black. Less than 0.5% are
Indigenous. Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, but that also depends on what industry you're looking at, right? Are you looking in the music? Are you looking into streaming? Are you looking into the art? Every industry is going to be different. That depends on what you're looking at. In a whole, it's who are getting noticed, right? You can go on to Twitch, Kick, whatever, pick a category and just run through it. You'll see a lot of those streamers that are 0 viewers, but they're still at it, of different varieties of people. It's just what's being recorded, right? If in an industry, if it's saying that only 5% are, African American, that's what's recorded. Those are what's people are noticed, right? It's at the end of the day, it's just what's recorded. It's who is getting the time of day to actually get up there. That's why come June, Twitch is like front page. Here's all your African American streamers, right? You start to see like, oh, that's a lot of them, right? Indigenous, they're trying to get more into the film industry because back in the day they were portrayed wrong. Now, mind you, my girlfriend, she's indigenous, and she still talks about it today that, back in the day, they were all portrayed wrong with their garbs, the Indian garbs and stuff like that. They're like, they only wear that during ceremonial things. That wasn't something that they wore all the time. And it's portrayed wrong, and it made them kind of feel like they're not real. So when my girlfriend goes place and they're like, "What are you, Asian?" And she goes, "No, I'm Native American." Oh, those are not real. Those are myth. Like, people literally think indigenous people are a myth. So again, this what is noticed in the industry is what's recorded.
Because I don't want this point to be lost. This is in our nonprofit deck. I have numbers from the NSF in my deck that specifically talk to only 336,000 people of Native American descent being in STEM, and only 0.3% of them have degrees. We're on an aggressive conversation. I'm working with nonprofits like United Natives, Amarin Soul, to find out where Native Americans are in STEM, particularly in gaming. For where we are in representation, the start conversation to be had is to just lead it. That's what I'm trying to do right now. I have made it all this way, and one day maybe I'll write a memoir about the struggles that I went through privately in order to get to the position that I'm in now. But I had to play the game to get here, and it was for this specifically, so that we could discover more talent and create more equity, and someone could sit at an influential position that could not be easily removed in order to do so. So the strong way to do that is to continue to discover. If you find somebody who is a streamer of indigenous talent, highlight, share, converse, have them come out to conferences, have them come out to conventions. If they don't have a way to get there, you put them in touch with me, and I will put them in touch with an organization that will make sure they are fully funded to get there if I don't do it myself. But that is the hugest thing that we could do when we are discovering, is to spread awareness and make sure that people know who these people are, so that we can get them on as large of a platform as possible, because it's one of the hardest sectors in order to authenticate into the larger gaming space. And people like me have connection to developers. We can get the influence out there and put them in front of those people to course correct a lot of those decisions.
All right. Thank you. We have another question from the chat. How often are you solo queuing in games?
Oh man. Should I take this one? I'm like solo queue all the time. Let's see. So occasionally, as you get older, everyone becomes busy, jobs, chasing their career path, starting a family. I'm one of the lucky few, or maybe unlucky, who don't have kids or a family. So most of my friends are now like, I'll get on when I have time. I got to take care of my kid, or they're just doing family things, right? And for me, it's like, I'm gonna play alone, so I solo queue a lot, or I start focusing on other things. Like, I'll start playing some music, making beats, working on like some photography edits, working on strips, stuff like that. And then, like, by the time I'm done, like all my friends are off, I end up solo queuing. So it's just mainly just as life gets further progressing in your life that people start to fall off. Hey, don't get me wrong, like, your friends are still your friends. It's just life just takes you guys on different paths. So occasionally you're gonna end up solo queuing.
Yeah, definitely understand that. Especially back in the day when I was playing Apex heavy, I solo queued so much on there, trying to do ranks. But yeah, a lot of games nowadays make it easier to solo queue. With the pinpoint systems, they make it so you can just tell somebody, just go here. I'm getting this weapon. Just off, not even talking, just hitting the button. So it's definitely made it easier to solo queue. So it also makes me want to do it more because like I said, a lot of people I used to play with, they be busy, got a life, at work, or just dealing with their kids, just things like that. But it's hard to really manage, especially you being an adult as well. You got your own life, you work as well, and you got to do content creation and all that. And it's hard to just mesh those time together to play the game like you used to. So solo queuing, it's just easier nowadays.
Yeah, I'm on the opposite end. one of the things that made it so easy for me to step away from WoW, why I rarely play Fortnite unless it's with my kids, is because I mean, from the first couple days on World of Warcraft, it was I had a group that I played with every single day. We logged in and played for hours and hours, and then that group kind of changed and melded, and there was always, through the whole decade and a half, I always had people. As the game had started, numbers have declined and the population of the game and the people I grew up with in that game have moved on.
Yeah.
It was easy for me to step away at that point because I had made new friends through the streaming community and things like that, but I came to the realization that I don't. When I would log in and there were more people on, I would play right away. I would just log right out. I'd be done.
Yeah.
Personally, that's where I got my joy from, was the community, the friendships, having teammates. That was what I went to the game for more than anything else. So, solo queuing is definitely not my thing.
And it's a lot easier nowadays too. If you need a party, you just join a server that is catered to that game itself, and you'll find people who are looking to play with someone. Or like, hey, I'm trying to do rank. Anybody's trying to hop on. Usually they play, hey, yeah, come on.
So this question is for Adrian. What games are special to you, and how did they help with your mental health?
Yeah, I think, like I said at the beginning, the games I reeled off were like FIFA, GTA, Tekken. Um, if there are any European people in the Twitch, Football Manager, which is like, it's like basically you're a soccer coach. You don't play soccer, you're just a head coach of it. It's a very, very addictive game. Yeah, those are the games I think are really special to me. Again, it's the games that I could play with people. I think that for me was a huge thing about gaming. It's like the bonding. You play with somebody, you play with my brother. We used to play PS2 all the time, and those games, you create memories, whether it's online or just one to one with your friends and your family. And I think because they create memories, they are just very special to you. And for me, those are the games which, for me, are in my heart, and I have a lot of like nostalgia when I think about those games in gaming. So those are the games. Also, Fight Night. I'm a big boxing fan, so Fight Night again was a huge one. So yeah, those are the games.
Okay. AerialApostle, I have the same question for you. What games are special to you, and how did they help with your mental health?
Let's see here. So games that are special to me, I'd say Mario Kart is very special to me. It's done a lot in my life, surprisingly. But it's also one of those things where I can be super competitive in it, and then I can also turn around and have the goofiest loadouts, and the goofiest carts, and play around and just try to kick back and have fun in it. And so it's one of those weird games where I can just have both, and I've really appreciated that aspect where I can actually flip the switch off, kick back, have fun with my brother, have fun with my wife, and just have fun. Be able to just take a break in the same game that I try to be, I guess, extra sweaty on. Yeah, I would definitely say Mario Kart would probably be the game for me.
Rika, I think you remember me telling you this when we first met. I lost my parents at a young age. And my father worked a lot because as a single father, he never taught me much about life or how to like engage with people. So growing up, the most he would do for me is buy me a game just to keep me out of trouble. And I used to struggle with just like kind of communicating with my friends because I didn't know what it means to have friends, right? Growing up, I was just kind of like off in my own world and kind of always like a little bit depressed. But what made me the person I am today, and I'm not gonna lie, it's like playing video games and like looking at the main character and how he treated his friends. Our protagonist always had like a amalgamation of friends, right? You got this whole team where you guys go through this amazing journey together and they always have each other back. And I was like, I want to be that kind of guy, right? And growing up, that's what I did. It was just like I emulated Sora, I emulated the protagonist from Persona 3. So like those two games made me kind of who I am, because that helped me kind of talk to people, engage in how to be friendly, and giving trust right off rip until you give me a reason not to trust you anymore. You have my respect 100%, until you give me a reason why I shouldn't respect you, right? So I think gaming helped me with that, and those are the two games that kind of shaped me and my personality of who I am today.
Unpopular game, but my cooldown game is Dynasty Warriors 9. It's just something about being on a horse riding through China in an open world. The music complements that, and I think a lot of people were looking for, for there are better and worse things that have happened to that franchise as it progressed. But when I heard open world, I was just like, oh, and it feels feudal, definitely, to say the least, or it feels like warring states, if you will. But all of that aside, I think the most enjoyable aspects of that game are literally just being able to observe what China looked like in development back then, and how much care Koei Tecmo took into trying to recreate that landscape, from snowy mountain caps to bamboo-laced fields, even the rice fields. They even have created mountain prefects in similar fashion that you can actually climb and observe China from. So that has been, I think, for years since the release of that game, that has been my calming game. Just when I'm riding through palaces or what, it has just always been, a travel destination that I can't travel to, and it's just a beautiful wonder. I can't really explain it, but that game truly brings me peace in times of stress.
Yeah, I'll also add on as well. The games that I think about are the games that I think of, and then it brings me back to a time where I either met a lot of my closest friends to this day, or games that I have the most memorable moments. So for me, it's the GameCube era. So games like Sonic Adventure 2, Mario Party 4 and 5, Mario Kart Double Dash, and Smash Brothers Melee in particular. So like around that time period, me and my friends would get together every weekend, and that's what we do. And I just have a lot of fond memories with those games that I just listed in particular. So I have to say those.
And Dance Revolution.
Oh my God, DDR,
at the
absolutely.
arcade every day, and for certain every weekend, just dumping quarters or tokens into that game, going to tournaments. That's where I found probably my first real gaming community in my life. Maybe showing my age as well at this point, but yeah, at the mall playing DDR. So yeah, that one definitely means a lot to me. I mean, I still have the soundtracks onto the old Spotify and
Oh yeah,
put it on now and again.
Ooh, they have soundtracks. I didn't even know the soundtracks were released.
Favorite song is Love Shine. That's my warm-up song.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I still remember when I was a kid, I used to take my quarter and I'll put it right at the screen and be like, I got next.
Absolutely. You had to line them up there. You knew.
Yeah, you're like, I got next, bro.
Absolutely. I just actually saw a random fact about that though. Most of the music in that was made by the same person, despite having different names.
Yes.
It was all the same person. So I was like, wow, that's incredible, because it is amazing music.
The arcade era was definitely one to remember. For me, it was Marvel vs. Capcom 2. That was like the holy grail of my arcade growing up.
Tekken Tag Tournament, bro.
Oh god, yeah.
I had a guy rip me off of the arcade system. I was like 12. Dude was like, come on, kid. I'm like hanging on. I'm like, I gotta finish this fight. He just wanted to fight so bad, but I just kept winning.
He just wanted
cool games. Because I can do old school games. Wild Arms Alter Code F.
Stop it.
Wild Arms 5. Suikoden 4. Riding around in that boat was insane. Man, still going on. Romancing Saga 3 Minstrel Song. Let me tell you why. As hard as that RPG was, that cyberpunk soundtrack was ahead of its time. For that game to have released in 2003 and got re-released today, and that music held up, so much so that they're using it in the sequel that they're making right now. It's insane. So it's like these have been a lot of calming games. Oh my god, Bomberman back in the day when I was like young. Games that pioneered. Let's talk about Dramatic Battle and Street Fighter Alpha 3. You know, this was the first time I think I ever did a fighting game co-op side-scrolling adventure, and I was doing it on PlayStation when it took 4 minutes to load. You know what I'm saying? So it was just like, but that little few seconds was just like, you know what I'm saying? And childhood me had that buck teeth out and was happy as mess. So yeah, there are a lot of calming games. Oh my god, Digging with Knuckles. Games that just made you want to extend simply because I'm just a music head anyway. I'm in the culture, so amid a lot of transition of Lil Jon and the East Side Boys, and me being confused as to what Dirty South music was, and was like, this isn't right. I had to reprogram myself. But needless to say, my refuge was in Street Fighter 3 Third Strike soundtrack, and things like that. I started to find the love in video games, and that's carried with me to this day. And a lot of people don't realize stuff like this. Musicians do this, and then they go and teach their kids, and then their kids start getting into these components in gaming. We start finding out these great composers that were in games, and that's why I'm so excited about this artist that's about to sign this thing. But yeah, a lot of that was laced in music. I don't know if that resonated with y'all, but I got stressed.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think people forget how impactful OST can be. Like, I think of like my favorite OST, like Sonic R from the Sega Saturn, Nights into Dreams, Skies of Arcadia, Third Strike, Sonic Adventure 2, Space Channel 5. Like, the list can go on. Kingdom Hearts, like, the list can go on and on for like just impactful music and gaming. Absolutely.
Sets the tone and the mood. You play a game with no sound, sucks.
Horrible.
One thing I realize people don't really remember nowadays is how diverse games used to be. How, as far as we each come together, reach a common goal. Like, think about all the way back to Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. You going to save the Gorons, you helping the Zoras. You just going around. You don't look at people as different races. You just see them as people. They got different trials and tribulations they dealing with, but we all in the same world. Just that's why I love Final Fantasy games so much, because it's such a diverse characters. Like, think about Cloud, Barrett, Red 13. I mean, that's a freaking dog. Just all these people, but you decide to reach common goal. Definitely. Y'all have common goals. You want to save the world. That's how I've seen things. It's just like, we all just people in this world trying to make it.
It's very different when it comes from something natural instead of a force, right? If it doesn't fit your narrative, don't put it in. People understand that. Because then, like, you start going through this chat box to kind of make sure that you have all your DEI inclusions, and then you forget your narrative, and then next thing you know, you're like, our game's not doing good, and we lost $2 billion. Suicide Squad. And you start blaming your fans, and that's another wrong thing to do, Acolyte. And it's terrible. And it's like, at the end of the day, you don't listen to your fans because you're like, no, this is what we have to do. We're trying to cater to this group of people, and like, it's the same group of people that are also telling you that it sucks. You're forcing this agenda, and you're not creating a good story. Where's that narrative? I came for a story, and then you're retconning lore, and then you're changing things, and now it's like, was it really worth it?
Yeah. I liked it. I don't know about the second one. It was given a little too much National Geographic. Don't get me wrong, but you tried the Xenoblade Final Fantasy, and you shouldn't have did that. Y'all are different Tetsuyas for a reason.
Oh my
but
God.
I applaud the effort. And to be fair, they tried the Final Fantasy Xenoblade. Shout out to Xenoblade Chronicles X, one of the best soundtracks of all time in the game. Oh my God. But yeah, I think retconning. Ooh. Is it a ploy to bring us back in? And I think sometimes it works. In Persona 5, it worked. What's the other one? There's another RPG that came out, and Tales of Arise. It worked. Y'all took some
good game.
If you played the Tales series, there have been some swing and miss systems in this franchise real bad in this battle.
The Abyss.
I was just about to say.
Tales of the Abyss. The Field of Phonon Exchange was probably one of the best systems I've seen in Tales. But Tales of Eternia was probably one of the worst ones I've seen. And then one of the worst concepts just for that franchise. So, but to see Tales of Arise recreated, so it's like, who's next? I'd love to see Grandia 5. Or was it, they're on 4? 5. It's
5, I
3,
believe.
4, or
I think
5.
it's
One of the
5.
two. I know Extreme was in there somewhere, but the one came out on PS2, and then after that they let the franchise die. But I'd love to see Grandia continue. Innovative battle system. There's a few other franchises within the system that I'd love to see get that makeover. It didn't just have to be Final Fantasy, and now they're about to do Final Fantasy 9, and I'm worried because this was a story I used to kind of summarize for my god kids when they were young, and I
Oh
would
my
tell them before
God.
bed about a hero that traveled the world and he was a thief, but then he became a world saver because a princess was in danger. I'm nervous.
Yo, shout out my guys at Dane and Dagger, yo. I love Final Fantasy 9. It's my absolute favorite.
9 was amazing, and then to have there were so many different properties they introduced that were different, like 2 summoners. You never seen that before. Ooh, plot twist. Star Ocean. Oh my god.
Don't get me started.
Please
I
don't.
want to cry so bad because the chances are there, and I just feel like Enix just can, Enix had a good thing with Tri-Ace in the beginning, but I think coming to Square just, but we see these franchises, and I think some of the retcons are good. I mean, Integrity and Faithfulness, I do like it. The dialogue is amazing, it's particularly in English. So I see the effort, and I like the culture and the effort. They even herald some other franchises in those franchises, like all of the male wizards in Star Ocean 5 were dressed like Lizard Valeth from Valkyrie Profile. So you get rewarded as you get older. So the retcons really do. I don't know if that does for you, but for me, the inner kid jumps out. I'd be like, "Oh, is that Lisa?" You know what I'm saying? So I applaud the retcons in that regard, but I do agree the new generation not trying to hear that. And I think something that the developers need to realize, and I think we as enthusiasts need to realize, is that our time that came and went. The creators need to take over, and we need to see what these kids gonna come up with. Because I'm pretty sure I'll play some of that too. I mean, that new game. What's the one with the girl and they talking about her jiggle physics?
Stellar Blade.
Thank you, Stellar
Fantastic.
Blade.
They stayed on
Fantastic
business.
game.
They stayed
Kids
on
love
business
it.
and didn't change it, and I respect that because Nike, Goddess of Victory, is by the same creator Shift, and that's another gacha game that I blew some money in. If they would have catered to the DEI and all the backlash, it would have sucked. The game would have sucked. It wouldn't have been that fun. Mind you, they did cater to some of the things by like removing some of the outfits and changing them a little bit. But here's to another gaming company, I think it's Game Science, who are doing Black Myth Wukong. They're under attack by Sweet Baby Inc. or one of those other companies because they're like, no, this is about the Journey to the West story. This is our Chinese company. This is about our story. Why should we put woke agenda in it? And they back down, and then now they're slandering and saying that this game is sexist, and they wouldn't pay them $7 million for them to make it more woke. And they're like, we're not doing that. And now that game is the #1 wish list on Steam right now. You gotta stay on business, right? At the end of the day, it's like, this is your story. Keep it to your narrative.
Stellar Blade is
I ain't coming
fantastic.
against
If you haven't
woke
played
now. I ain't coming against woke. Keep it woke. That's how Lightning Farron became the face of Louis Vuitton. It was the first video game character to do so. That's also why I don't have to play my video game all day and see panty shots, boys.
That Louis Vuitton collab was fantastic. Too bad it only came out in Japan.
Yeah.
It was fab, and it's like, what another Doom franchise, but oh my god, it's so
let me I'm gonna say this, right? We get Nier Automata, right? Great game, right? 2B, yeah, panty shop, whatever. At the end of the day, it's like a little fan service. Same with Stellar Blade, a little fan service, but they stayed to their narrative. That's why they were great games.
I guess because I'm a huge fan of Bayonetta, so I guess when Stellar Blade came out, I just didn't understand the outrage. I'm like, this is not the only. I mean, Dead or Alive, for Christ's sake. I mean, like, there's other games that have done this before, so I don't know why Stellar Blade became such a big target for that. Yeah,
and it's because they're like, oh, the main character is not what women look like, and I'm just like, it's modeled after the creator's wife.
I mean, go boycott. Street Fighter 6. Look at Cammy and Chun-Li. I mean,
yeah.
Let's be real.
Hey, no one say anything about Juri putting her feet in people's faces. Come on.
That's because feet are more acceptable than Chocha.
Yeah.
So to be fair, but I like the revolution that happened. I want to speak to that because I feel y'all. I feel where y'all at right now. I was actually on the Strip, and I live in Vegas. I was in Fremont, and I noticed some of the female performers were not being engaged, and I noticed how they looked. And I was just like, oh, this is a product of where we've come. And I think it's important to highlight within men's mental health that you enjoy the idea of a woman. I think where we were in the culture is that we started to reach perverted stages of exaggeration, because you bring up Cammy from Street Fighter. Let's talk about what she used to look like not too long ago and how old she was.
So
The girl
this
was
is the
12.
goddess of opportunity here, and
Really?
I'm
Look at the
editing,
books.
and
She
I
was
want to
12.
go ahead
Oh,
and do
no.
a quick insert on the point that JC just made. So Cammy from Street Fighter first appeared in Street Fighter 2 Alpha, and she was born in 1974. That title came out in 1996, which would in turn not make her 12 years old, but actually 22 years old. This isn't to take away from GC's point, but I just wanted to make it clear she was, in all actuality, an adult when she first appeared in Street Fighter.
No, I don't think so.
Oh no!
No.
His wife, she
Not
was
for Street
12 years
Fighter.
old. I don't want to say woke culture is a cuss word, but I think we needed to mature ourselves and how we enjoy the content. Because yes,
I
like
agree
you
with
said,
that.
Yoko Taro and 2B and Nier Automata, what an insane, genius story. Top 5 games of all time, in my personal opinion. And I didn't mind how revealing some of the female androids were. I get it. And then to know that they were made by machines, it was so genius for Yoko Taro to be like, oh, this isn't a human thing, it's a machine thing. So he could break barriers in a lot of ways. But I think also he took taste into a lot of the conversations that have happened, which allows a lot more women to now be present. Because let's be fair, if boys was walking around and you seen cross shots in every games, every boy, we'd be having a different conversation on this panel right now. Would we not in video games?
How's the gameplay though?
That's what's important.
What's my narrative? Like there's a lot of games out there that came out back in the day that were very revealing, right? And some of them were crap games and they never got the light of day. That's what I'm saying. It's like you can make a character look sexy, but at the end of the day, it's like, is the story good? Is the narrative? How's the gameplay?
I guess it comes back to intention. Like, what is the purpose of designing a character? Is it strictly for fan service? Is it strictly because you want to push sales? Or is there like a relevant reason within the narrative why this character has these type of physics or built this way? So, and I guess someone plays into the male fantasy or whatever, but designing with a purpose has to be something in the conversation.
Let me tell you something. I just want to say something real fast, because someone who did Dead or Alive tournaments, I used to travel for that, right? Huge game, love that game, and still do. It's one of my favorite fighting games. But it wasn't because of all the sexy female characters. It was the fighting game was very unique. It was a triangle-based system, right? Strikes beat grabs, grab beats block, block beats strikes. It's very simple, but then you added an extra system to it, counters, right? And it wasn't just like back X, it was knowing which directional to do that counter, because it's different type of counter directions, right? I thought that was dope. But Dead or Alive died to me after 5. They're like, what's a story, right? Screw that. 6 came out, and then they said no story, just pure fighting. And then, oh, by the way, if you want to unlock costumes, you gotta buy them. Instead of just playing the game over and over again to unlock different costumes, that's what made the game fun. And when we went to tournaments, none of those costumes were allowed to play because, again, there was kids at the tournament, so we would just use base costumes all the time. So regardless, we knew how sexy these characters can be. Again, they made beach volleyball. Okay. We played it because we enjoyed the fighting game. We loved the story. Just so happened to have sexy characters, that's a plus. But there were still guys in there. You can get them shirtless, swim trunks. Like, I love Hayabusa and Hayate. My favorite character was Hitomi. Hitomi didn't really have that many sexy outfits. My favorite outfit was her in her jean jacket.
I think it's also culture and region. Now, I don't know if you guys know, but the 9-to-5 businessmen in the Eastern Hemisphere were catering to this specifically.
Yeah.
So this was selling. This was a market. Soft hentai was a market. So to have done this, and then social media and technology advanced to a point of twofold: one, modding; two, exposure. So now you had, and we just had this in Street Fighter 6. Was there not a tournament where they were playing and then Chun-Li was butt naked on stream?
Yep.
And they were like, "Oh, no, we got to cut the break,"
There's some people that will go that far,
and they do. You know what I'm saying? Because they want to satisfy whatever, which is why I say moderation is important. But I think there's a dance that we do here because we don't want women walking around as nuns. Because then all y'all gonna come to my side and we're full, But we also don't want women walking around, but in bare, fully exposed detail, because there's a secondary conversation there, which is self-esteem. If games start to cater to this narrative in mass, your expectation will be conditioned from digital to real life.
That's true.
If your condition comes from that mentally, you start to create this unrealistic vision of what life may settle for you. And that could end in loneliness, that could end in ideations, that could end in extremism. There are a number of different dangerous paths of dissociation that we could follow, which is why I endorse and I support the revolution that we had to go to get ourselves under self-control. Where are my thick girls in these games? Why is Storm still looking like Kate Moss and Marvel Rivals? Let's be honest. The Wind Rider should have some thickness in the thighs. Thunder thighs. Like, nah, you know what I'm saying? And they know better.
Yo, fam, did you just say Storm looking like Kate Moss?
Be serious. A word on Family Guy, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, you following me here? And it's like they doing her in the books like that. We just now in 2022 are starting to get thick Storm. In 2022, we don't even have people at the table in diversity that can accurately depict some of these characters. So yes, let the revolution continue. I need thick thigh Storm before I'm dead. I'm 40 almost. Come on, dog. Like, how much longer I gotta? Hello?
To be real with you, they'll probably draw Jean Grey like that before Storm.
They're actually making her worse.
They're gonna worship that too. They're gonna be like, "Oh my god, I can't believe they drew this voluptuous woman. She's so different. I can't. Oh, it's so exotic."
But you know what's crazy? Like, now that Disney owns the property, like, you remember what Disney characters used to look like? Like Miss Incredible, right? The chick from Lilo and Stitch. Like, they're not shy from drawing thick characters.
I mean, I think
Disney. I ain't got time.
I think the only problem people have is like, why make re-existing characters look different instead of just making a brand new character and then making them entertaining in that way? You know what I'm saying?
I never cared about that. Like, I think redesigns are a healthy way to kind of like keep a character fresh. So when people, they changed his hair color, they changed this, like, I never thought that to be a big deal, personally speaking.
Just don't make them bland and boring. Keep them like same. Like, I don't like when they change a whole entire character personality and then they become something boring and then like bland. I hate to say it. I don't like when characters are just weirdly unemotional when things are happening around them. Like, they stare off the space when like their best friend dies in a story and they're just like, it's just weird, man. I'm just like, what am I playing? What am I watching?
It is an interesting conversation, though, because I do agree about the deconditioning and then having your expectations move from a digital perspective to a real life. Because as you see, we see that in the hip hop industry, we see that in mainstream media, we see that everybody augmentate all over the place. So I think there is some credence to that, and there's because I came up in Miami, so I see it all the time. So, like, you go to the grocery store, you'll see exactly what he's describing. So I definitely understand that from a exposure standpoint, for sure.
Yeah, and I'm starting to realize this too, because like watching a lot of these people talk about narrative and things are being changed, it affects their mental health a lot, because they grew up on these properties, and now you have these big companies buying these intellectual properties, these IPs that had millions of dollars in it, and then they start changing it up, and the fans are upset, and now they're just like, I don't like it anymore. I hate this property, and it affects them a lot. And it's crazy to see that a lot of people actually hold on to these like titles, these IPs, because it's something they grew up with their families. You know.
Yeah, that affects their mental health because a lot of people play games to escape realism. When you play a game and you see too much realism, it's kind of like, well, dang, I could just go
I
outside
can just
for
go
all that.
outside at this time. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know what's funny? A lot of these developers do this and then write stories that speak to that consequence. I think Xenoblade 3 was probably the most recent example I've seen this. There's a character in that game who continues to live. And her question, without going too much into the plot, was, why didn't you just leave me dead? Because watching you become this was something I never wanted to do. And I felt like there was an out of body conversation being had from that story to the industry, because a lot of these developers are becoming the last kings of Scotland. And it's time to just pass the torch. I get it. And you're scared about what's next, but let it go. What's his name? Yoshinori Ono left Street Fighter.
Taro?
Yeah,
Oh,
no, not Yoko Taro, but the
Oh.
Street Fighter developer. Yoshinori Ono left Street Fighter, and I look at Street Fighter 6. It's amazing. I got word on the street that there was a beta test while he was still in office at Capcom, and that the beta test was so bad they were going to fire everybody, and that's why he retired. I don't know if that's true or not. Street Fighter 6 is now an amazing product that engages intergenerational audiences, and the team is young. Let them go out and make new ideas. We'll get with it. I mean, shoot, we getting with music. Not everybody rock him and KRS-One and LL Cool J and Jay-Z and all that. We got, all types of stuff that's running around here. NLE Choppa is probably the biggest and most obnoxious thing I've ever seen in my life, but the kids love him when he come on. I'm just like, it gives me enthusiasm to see what the future looks like. I'm not in that mode where I need to see or engage in nostalgia every single time. My mental health is not there. I really want to see what's to come because I want to know that the future is in good hands. That's why I fight the fight that I do.
I agree with that. Yeah, you have to have new ideas creep in. Like we saw what happened with on the Nintendo side with Mario Wonder when they let the younger developers kind of have full say so how the direction of that game, and it came out amazing. Best Mario game we had in 2 decades almost. So
Okay. I have another question for you all from the chat. Speaking of men's mental health, is there a particular mental health struggle you've had to deal with in your lifetime that you care to share? And how did you overcome it, whether it be gaming, social groups, etc.? Question.
I have I had some trauma with my father. I'm not gonna go in detail, but I ended up just taking therapy. Therapy actually helped a lot. And I'm gonna go ahead and just share that because with trauma, what you would do, and this is something that I can just explain because I asked multiple friends after therapy, like, is this what you guys do? Because this is what the therapist said. And those traumas you will lock behind a mental door, right? And occasionally you don't want to address it, but that problem is still there. But the answer is behind a door and you locked it. And by having a therapist, that therapist took the key out of my hand, opened that door, and made me face that. I cried. I cried so much. And I felt so much better after 6 weeks of therapy. And that I feel like I have a more mental engagement with myself, and those dark thoughts that I used to have they cease to exist.
Yeah, therapy. That's what good friends or confidants in general. Just speaking about things. I kept a lot hidden that had happened to me. That I don't think. I mean, it's probably more common than I think it is, but when it comes to being taken advantage of or used, or I don't like to say the word rape, but it was, So I just thought I had to keep it to myself because I thought nobody would understand or believe it. But when I started speaking about it more, I found the groups and support, and so overcoming that. I mean, after 10 years, it took me 10, 12 years to talk about it openly. And when I finally did, I mean, the therapy, absolutely, 100%. I didn't realize how much it weighed on me, honestly. And blaming myself, things like that. The things you hear about, the same things that you hear about anybody who goes through it and tries to keep it to themselves and overcome it on their own. It's no matter what, sex, gender, anything, yeah. So definitely use your resources, reach out to people you trust. 100% works. That brings you a long way, brings you forward.
It's definitely a huge struggle to speak about it, and it's hard to go to your friends. And for me, it was difficult because I felt like if I came to my friends or family members, they'll look at me different. So that's why I had to reach out to a therapist, because they're not going to look at you different, and that's why I was able to speak with them. It's just so difficult and it's a problem that I think all men have, is that we have this stigma to not want to share our feelings, and that we need to take care of it ourselves because we're men. And when we try to speak about it, we feel like now we're weak, and it just, it's fucking difficult, dude.
You're right. Yeah, there's expectations. Or you think at least there's the shadow that you think is there. I mean, whether that's what people expect from you or not, that's what you believe because we've seen it. You're absolutely right, man.
Yeah, I will say it's very, very important that you find somebody to talk to. You may feel like some people don't listen to you, but there's always one person. If you can't talk to family, talk to friends, can't talk to friends, try to call a professional, but you have to talk to somebody. It's very important because just getting that off your chest, it will infinitely make you feel so much better. You're just unimaginably better. So you have to make sure you find somebody to talk to and don't just bottle it in, because it only going to get worse otherwise,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. I just to kind of piggyback what everybody said, I just think the first step to this is just admitting that you actually need the help and that you are going through something mentally, and it's perfectly okay. Just like Lucia was explaining, as men, we are conditioned not to open up. We are told at a very young age, at least for most of us, we're told at a very young age to just suck it up and be a man about it. Well, what exactly does that mean? Does that mean I'm not supposed to have emotions? No. So I think the first step to this is just admitting that there is something going on with you mentally or emotionally that you have to address. And like you said, bottling it in is not going to do. It's going to be counterproductive. You're going to lash out in more than likely an unhealthy way if you keep it bottled up. So for me personally, I don't take losses very well. So whether it's a death in the family or a breakup, which I've been through all of that, I immediately had to go to therapy because I knew if I did not take inventory of that emotionally, I was going to lash out in a way that was probably going to cause more damage than good. So I think just admitting that you need the help and seeking that help out and just taking the ego out of it. There's absolutely nothing wrong with getting help as a man. Nothing wrong. Like, don't ever let anybody tell you, like, hey, you're less than a man because you want to speak to somebody professionally about what's going on. So I think that stigma has to go away. But therapy is extremely important. I mean, I've been through it all: losses, breakups, everything. So I am a huge promoter of therapy and just getting professional help when needed. So yeah,
I would say abandonment for me. And I would say that their common misconception is mental health is that there's always the happy ending in every case. Some of the stuff is ongoing. Addiction is an ongoing treatment. This is not a fight that just you go see somebody for a couple of months and it's gone. It's something you're dealing with for the rest of your life. And I think for me, abandonment is something I'll deal with for the rest of my life, which is why I stress constant treatment and, against a lot of the popular grain in mental health right now. I suggest getting constant treatment from somebody that you identify with. I believe that the placebo of relatability is a powerful tool and that it needs to be used more often. So to those who might see this, if you feel like you relapsed in your growth, don't be hard on yourself, because this is something that you will do until you die. We strive to improve as individuals all the time. And the day that we stop is the day that we dissociate. And the day that we dissociate is the day that we become a danger. So remember, you don't ever want to owe it to yourself to become a danger, but you always will owe it to yourself to heal.
Thank you. I have one more question. This question is for Adrian. What suggestions do you have to game in a healthy way?
I think one thing is that you got to be careful about how long you're playing for, because I mean, especially when I was a kid, you can get carried away and play for hours and hours. And although gaming is a good way to get away from the real world, I think for playing for too long is obviously not good for you. Obviously, like health reasons, it's obviously not good to you staring at a screen for so long. And obviously, you gotta make time to eat and to drink and to stay hydrated and so forth. So I think being conscious of that, I think is very important. I think two, be careful not to get too worked up because again, getting too angry, to getting frustrated, it does lead to potential abuse, abusing others. And again, that's very unhealthy in the community, and that's something very big in the community. So I think, yeah, I think those are two key factors. I mean, be careful about how long you're playing for and monitor your game time, and don't be playing for too long to keeping it healthy. And then two, keeping your emotions in check, so that you don't harm others and offend others as well.
AerialApostle, I have the same question for you. What suggestions do you have to game in a healthy way?
So I definitely agree with Adrian. Setting those boundaries with how much you're gaming. You don't want to be a marathon gamer 24/7 because that just can definitely take away from taking care of needs. And if you're not making sure that you're being properly fed, being properly hydrated, like if you're neglecting all of your physical needs, like that can have cascading effects on your mental health as well. Um, so definitely making sure to set those boundaries. I kind of mentioned it earlier, but if you play a game that like makes you mad or can make you angry, definitely be cognizant of your warning signs. Like start to pick up on like when like if it's something where like your ears start to get hot, or if you start feeling your muscles clenching more, like take those warning signs, note them, and be able to recognize, okay, cool, I need to switch what I'm doing real quick. So whether that be switching something in the game itself, like I kind of mentioned with Mario Kart, it can be something where like, cool, I need to switch and play a goofy kart loadout, or oh, I need to go play random items just to like take the seriousness away and just enjoy the goofiness of the game and try to find the fun in it again. I think with League of Legends, it used to be where I would switch and play ARAM, just because like I didn't really take ARAM too seriously. I was playing a character I didn't know how to play, and I'm just trying to have fun with the game, trying to just bring back some of the joy in playing the video games again. And sometimes that's not possible with certain games, and sometimes you just need a fallback game. I think Jaycee mentioned having a cooldown game earlier. So like just being able to be like, cool, I need to just completely set aside this game, a different game, whether that be something as simple as like playing Sudoku or playing like one of those online mini games, just something where you can kind of take your mind off of the seriousness as well as still feel like you're accomplishing something, you're still winning something, so that you're still able to refocus, get back in the groove of things, and then maybe once you've realized, cool, I've settled down now you can maybe try to go back into the game, or just maybe you're done for the day, maybe you're good and and you're just going to play something else. So
Right. Does anyone have anything to add to this question?
I'll throw in my 2 cents here. Just to kind of piggyback off what everybody said, my thing is just don't let gaming be your only outlet. So just make sure you take the effort and the time to actually go outside and get some exercise and get some sunlight and actually be social with real people. Like one of the things that I make a point to do is when I have the time, I will actually go out to maybe like a lounge or a restaurant with friends and just actually have that in-person social interaction that's away from gaming. Or I'll make sure I go to the gym or make sure I get my morning run in, or just make sure I spend, quality family time that doesn't involve gaming. So Gaming is great. I love it. We all love it, but it can't be the be all end all. You know what I'm saying? It can't be the only thing that you get, that can't be your only outlet. So just have multiple ways that you can express yourself that's away from gaming.
Well, then, I want to thank you all for joining us today. This panel was very inspiring. It was so very empowering discussion, and I appreciate you all for joining us today. And for all our allies out there, I just want to let you know to be safe and be well. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining into our men's mental health panel. And guys, I do hope you'll stick around for just a moment before we end here. But this has been an amazing conversation. Rica and I have worked for over a month to put this together, and she especially has been the main primary advocate and leader for making this happen. So I want to give her a special shout out for, really keeping us on task, really making sure that she was reaching out to everyone and making sure all of the questions were insightful and thoughtful and things that we could really look at to try to improve in our community. So I definitely want to go ahead and give her flowers for doing so. I want to thank all of the gentlemen for coming in today and being a part of this panel. We really couldn't have done this without you, and it's just so amazing to hear all of this feedback. I think we need to have more of these conversations, regardless of whatever month it is or what day it is. We need to keep having the conversations. We need to keep being supportive in our community. So I just wanted to go ahead and say that. We will see you next time. We are going to continue to have different programming where we have these conversations and discussions. So if you would like to support the Athena Alliance CLT, you can go onto our website. It's www.AthenaAllianceCLT.com. You can tap in with us on social media on all platforms at AthenaCLT. And we just can't wait to engage with you again. We're going to be playing more games on the channel. We are also shifting into being a nonprofit. So if you want to support our efforts, please do so. We ask that you do so just because we want to be able to continue to do more for the community and help those that are underserved and underheard. So with that being said, I hope you have a wonderful Saturday. Thank you so much for being here, and we'll see you next time.